Today we're talking about the Underdwellers for Batman the Animated Series, which originally aired 25 years ago today on October 21st, 1992. Hello friends, I'm Andy Knode and welcome to the show where we talk all about Batman the Animated Series on the 25th anniversary of each and every episode. If you are like me and grew up with this show and grew up to become a huge Batman fan, then please, I hope you'll consider subscribing so you can see all the episodes as we release them.
I knew you'd chicken out!
So, the Underdwellers.
Leprechauns and Batman. What's Gotham coming to?
It's kind of an interesting premise. It's another episode that doesn't feature a predominant villain. It's one that I seem to remember coming on a lot when I was a kid, and yet it's one that I don't hear a lot of people talking about now. And we're going to find out why right after I do my 45-second rundown. I think I was about to say 20-second. That's insane. 45-second rundown. We start on top of a train of a couple of kids playing chicken. Batman saves them. Then a woman gets her purse stolen by what she thinks is a leprechaun. It turns out to be a kid. Batman digs in and follows these kids down into the sewer and finds that there's this kid that's alone that he gets to trust. He takes back to the Batcave. Alfred takes care of him, and Batman has him lead him back to the underdwelling and finds that the sewer king has all these little kids, these orphans, doing his bidding by getting jewels and bringing them back to the sewer, and he is the king of the sewer king, and Batman stops him. Hey, there's not a lot to this episode.
Are you ready for your lessons? Yes? I think so. I think so.
So the plot of this feels a lot like Oliver. I don't have a problem with the concept of this. The idea of these orphan kids living underground and this tyrant that's kind of ruling over them, the self-proclaimed king of the sewer, is ruling over them and having them get jewels and stuff. That in itself is not a huge issue, other than I'm not sure how the sewer king got to be king of the sewer. Seems like there's a lot of competition down there. You've got Killer Croc, for one. You got Ninja Turtles that are roaming around there somewhere.
Heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
Usually, when it comes to the story of these episodes, it's kind of a rocky or rough premise to a story, or a simple premise, but it's executed well, or they do the best that they can with what they have. This one I feel like was the exact opposite. It's a pretty decent premise. You know, this idea of Batman trying to find out why these kids are all working together to pickpockets and to steal things. I hate to say this, but it honestly is just sort of poorly written.
You think I'm crazy, don't you?
In what sense, Master Bruce?
Seriously.
Maybe it was rushed. Maybe it was put through there, but there's some lines in this that are just really just weak.
Sounds boring.
In the Bahamas?
Hot and boring.
And then there's other moments in this episode that just feel drawn out or unnecessary. The whole thing starts off on top of this train and these two kids that are playing chicken, and Batman saves them.
You play chicken long enough, you fry.
I don't know why that's there. It's not even a false opening, because there's nothing that leads you to believe that these two kids are part of the Underdwellers. In fact, they seem a little bit too old. And then when they show the Underdwellers, they all have the green cloak, which these two kids didn't. And then when we first see the kid with the green cloak take something from the woman, she thinks it's a leprechaun.
I'm telling you, it was a leprechaun.
And then the cop is saying, oh, so you saw little green men.
Ma'am, you expect me to believe you saw a little green man?
Leprechauns aren't green. They wear green, so she was more correct than the cop. Then Batman's talking to Alfred later about seeing a leprechaun.
Seriously. You don't believe I saw a leprechaun.
Did he have a pot of gold?
Why does he think he saw a leprechaun? It's just a kid with a cloak on. He looks more like a hobbit, honestly. So they spend a lot of time talking about these kids being leprechauns or being mistaken for leprechauns, and it's just a waste, because then they don't even fulfill that. If they were going to go that direction, then go all the way in that direction. Take the kids actually doing, stealing gold and this mystery of the, and show news reports and stuff that there's these leprechauns running throughout Gotham, and then reveal at the end that these aren't leprechauns. They're under the rule of the Sewer King.
Your teacher, your leader, your king. Ready? I am. Yes.
This was the 6th episode produced, and I think it's like the 26th, 27th, 28th maybe episode that aired. So I have a suspicion that they weren't real confident about this episode, and so they didn't release it for a long time. I don't know if it was just they had a hole in the schedule and went, well, we do have the Underdwellers done. Let's throw that one in. Now, one of the highlights that I think is in this episode, but I have read some people that sort of had a problem with this. We get to see Batman actually get upset, get mad, get angry when he sees how these kids are being treated.
Evidence.
In fact, to the extent that he threatens the Sewer King to not put him through the through the court system because he just wants to take care of himself.
I don't pass sentence. That's for the courts. But this time, I am sorely tempted to do the job myself.
In fact, I'm pretty sure he breaks the jaw of the crocodile there, or alligator, which is quite a feat to pull an alligator or crocodile, his jaw apart. You gotta be hepped up on some serious rage to be able to do that. So I think that's kind of a neat aspect of Batman, is to see him get that angry. Kind of shows a little bit of a softer side, or his heart for kids. Obviously, he takes in several orphans himself to raise them, like Dick Grayson and Tim Drake and all them. But I've also heard people talking about that as being a weak element of the episode, because Batman's always been dark and brooding and a loner and things like that. So it kind of didn't mix well with people that he was sort of being the compassionate one.
I don't know what kind of barbarian did this to you, but it's over. And from now on, you'll be treated like human beings.
Something else completely random that I kind of like about this episode is, for some reason, I don't even know why, but when we go into the Batcave, Alfred is down there listening to the radio and enjoying this music while Batman's trying to talk to him, which seems very unprofessional and very rude. Seems like with a huge mansion like that, he'd have something to clean or cook or do something. But then Batman picks up a remote control and shuts off the radio. But when they show it, it's a very old, vintage, classic radio. And I don't think that's a mistake. I think that is characteristic of the show. One of the things that I love about the design of the show, it is kind of that ambiguous sort of time period. There's a lot of elements, the clothing and the cars and things like that, and the Art Deco architecture that makes you believe that it's the 1940s, 1930s. And then there's high-tech things. I mean, the Bat computer and the technology that Batman has, and yet the TVs are black and white. I love seeing that kind of mixture, and that's a perfect example of having a wireless remote for a classic radio.
And now, I will teach you something.
So when it came time to rank this episode, obviously not every episode can be the best, and certainly not every episode can even fall in the top 10. And sometimes it's a struggle of which episode is going to get bumped from the top 10. And other times we have episodes like this that I'm just debating on whether or not to put it at the bottom of the list or somewhere up from the bottom. But I looked at it carefully because I really do want to come up with a working list of every episode of Batman the Animated Series ranked from my most favorite to my least favorite. And this one fell at the 21st slot, just above Nothing to Fear, because even though Nothing to Fear had, the Scarecrow had a traditional Rogues Gallery villain, the plot of this was more thought out. There was a little bit more to it, and just being able to reveal the element of Batman of having the compassion for the kids, I think just made it, kind of knocked it up just a little bit above nothing to fear.
The light. The light.
So when you were a kid, do you remember seeing this episode a lot? Is it just me that this one seemed like it came on a lot? Or is it that because I never really cared for this episode, I had a bigger reaction to it coming on versus, oh, this is another one of my favorites. This is another one that I want to enjoy. But do you remember this one coming on a lot on Fox Kids, or is that just me? Let me know in the comments below.
You were heard, and we all know the punishment for talking.
So if you like this video, please hit that like button. And the next episode for Batman the Animated Series is next Thursday with Night of the Ninja. As always, I'm Andy Knode. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on Thursday.